Starting.
I'll go.
Starting.
Yay! I'll go to YouTube as well.
Yeah. Go to YouTube and see if it's up. Let's see. I thought it was funny. It's like Les was like, wonder what time it was starting. I was like 3 minutes ago. Sorry, we're getting things
Ah,
together. You know, I'm tired. So let's see. Is it up and running? Oh, like it
maybe.
looks like he says there's an echo. I don't know where
Yay!
it's coming from.
It is live. Oh my goodness.
Live, live, live. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hi everybody. Welcome to our Monday night edition. I just like I said prior, this is going to be a interesting 2 months, to say the least. So I was up at 2:30 this morning to get to the airport in Calgary, and I'm here. So well, I'm a little loopy, but it's okay. And then I gotta fly out to Maine tomorrow, so that's gonna be a fun thing. But we got a couple things to talk about, which is fun, including some a CME that is probably gonna miss. I think that's what we just or everybody's decided on, but we're gonna talk about it anyway. So if you want
Yep.
to share the screen and get it up, you can go right there.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Slideshow. There we go. All right.
And is it not?
Share.
Yeah, share it, share it, share it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think we're going to start with some exciting and not so exciting news, but this was posted on SWIPSE's website homepage that space weather follow-on spacecraft is in Florida and it's getting ready for launch. It is going to L1, and I think from what I remember, it's going to be not until I think March of 2026, but I'll have to verify that data when it becomes fully operational at L1. So it has a long way to go, but it is going with the sister spacecraft. It's going with IMAP. The space weather follow-on will be completely operational, dedicated to space weather, no science missions, and it will have very similar instruments to ACE. IMAP is looking at the different parts, so it's kind of looking into the space rather than just at the sun, but it has operational space or will have operational space weather capability. So we will have two spacecrafts, two birds that are watching sun and sampling solar wind at L1 probably early next year. At least that's the hope.
Well, that's good.
Um, yeah, that's good news because
Considering.
unfortunately, considering Discover is missing in action. It went offline basically as of July of 2025 this year, very like a few days ago. SWIPSy doesn't have an ETA for return to online. ACE is fully operational. At this point, that's our only source of solar wind data. So there are a couple of research satellites there, spacecrafts, I should say, but unfortunately, they don't have real-time resolution. So WIND, for example, which is a research satellite, a spacecraft, it is sending data, but it sort of sends it in packages. So ACE is saving us again, but yep,
But
it's
I
the
don't.
only thing right now.
I,
Let's not go blind to solar wind. It's not a good thing.
I know I don't like it because Ace is supposed to go away this year too, or it's
Is it? I think next year.
is it next year? I
I don't
don't.
think,
Why don't one
yeah,
of
I
them?
don't, yeah, that's gonna, it's gonna run out of fuel
Yeah,
next
it's
year.
the fuel one.
Yeah,
So
that's a fuel issue. So hopefully the problem with Discover is solved and we're gonna have at least some source of space weather data because its magnetometer is working just fine. And it's a space-based magnetometer, so it's really just monitoring solar wind data. That's magnetic field. So it's BZ, BY, BX, and that's how we get the total strength of IMF. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I want it back. I want to have it back up.
me too.
All right. Well, let's talk about things that other spacecrafts saw. And that's yeah.
Yeah. So here is the little CME that we alluded to at the beginning. That's how it happened yesterday. But it's mostly southeast directed. Um, it looks like M2M has it modeled as possibly a hit. Space Weather Prediction Center is saying it's going to be a miss, and that's kind of typical with these, you know, glancing blow type things like off the limbs. But there's always that chance it could expand out enough where we get clipped by it, so it's in a model. But we'll see what actually happens. So that's nothing. That's about all I got on that one.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it is.
Yeah,
There was another film interruption, but
yeah, that's even
this is
less.
a yeah, this is a most recent Hawks run for two CMEs, and the hit percent, which is what you want to look for when you're looking at, well, what are the chances that it's going to come? So 5%, so meaning 5% of 500 ensemble members actually indicated a hit. And for the most recent CME that was launched earlier today, well, actually yesterday in UTC time,
Yeah.
that's 2%. So I hate to bring up that joke, but yes, there is a chance. It's very, very small. They kind of happen on the wrong side of coronal hole, so they may be deflected even more. At least the initial film interruption was pretty heavily deflected to southeast, so probably not the most favorable location and a lower chance. But we don't know. We still have to watch. And again, it's a glancing blow. It's following or at least interfering and interacting with a fast solar wind from Coronal Hole. So I'm more hopeful for Coronal Hole to do something as
Yes.
opposed to those two CMEs. But we'll never know.
Yeah. But as
If
they
we get a little
say,
bit of enhancement, great.
yeah. But as they say, it's like, what is that thing? So you're saying there's a chance,
Yeah, pretty much.
a 5% chance. Yeah. Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
Vincent just said it. It's like, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yep. Well, what's interesting is that the coronal hole kind of creates a sweep, so that's an area of lower density. So will the CME actually expand more and affect Earth more? It's all a speculation. It definitely got sort of bumped out of the way toward Earth, but how it's going to evolve in the sort of interplanetary space from Sun to us, we will know by the time it shows up in L1. Hopefully Ace will pick it up. Hopefully Discover will be back online, but we don't know that yet. So watch and see.
Yes. So now we're going to talk about the coronal hole, right? That's our next.
I think so.
This
Oh,
is
that's
this.
the. Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's a
I
film
forgot.
film
I forgot. I
interruption.
made a video in case anybody wanted to see the CME. You'll see it. There it
Yay, there it
is.
goes.
There it goes. Bye.
Yep. And it was a small eruption. So,
But it's there, so we gotta talk about it. But now we'll talk about the coronal hole, which is the more um obvious, like likely thing that we're
oh,
gonna
come
see.
on. Oh,
There it
yay.
is. There it
So,
is.
there it is. So that was a coronal hole that affected us for what, the entire week?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
This was
it
yep.
was quite impressive because it showed up near center around July 9th. So when it happens, you kind of expect it within a couple days, and it's already crossing the median by that the middle, so central meridian by that time. So give it a couple days, and it's going to show up. But then it had a very irregular shape. It had a leading edge lower, at kind of, yeah, I would say higher latitude, and it had a central component that really was transequatorial, so it's crossing the equator. And because we're kind of sitting very close to the equator, so that part is directly facing us, as opposed to this part that has to kind of reach over and do something to us. And then it had a little more of a central component over here, so expecting that to affect us. And it was super long. So we're talking like a week
Yeah, yeah. Went
of
on for a while.
potential activity, if not more. Um, will we see that as a sort of profile change as we look at solar wind speed and some of the other markers? Yes, we will. So this is something that comes from Andy's tables, and Andy will love you for this plot because this is super awesome. It shows the total strength of magnetic field that is detected by satellites at L1. So it shows magnetic field compression in response to coronal hole, and it actually shows substorms and the solar wind speed. So it arrived around sometime on the 11th because you see the speed of the solar wind decreasing, which typically happens before that compressed solar wind comes in. I did not include density, but that would be also helpful in this regard. But most importantly, as the speed, when speed is initially decreasing, the BT starts to climb. So
Mm-hmm.
that's total strength of the magnetic field. And then speed has increased. So if you think about the coronal hole, it had the kind of higher latitude leading edge. So this is why you're seeing speeds not being that particularly impressive. Nonetheless, magnetic field clearly got compressed, so it's increased. And what's important to remember is it's increasing both in the slow solar wind and in the fast solar wind.
Mm-hmm.
So just because the speed is already high doesn't mean the BT is going to drop right away. And BZ is doing typical coronal hole stuff. So
Yeah.
looking at this, there's probably a very small flux rope that got trapped in there because it was, I mean, you can see it.
Yeah, it's
There's a
pretty.
gradual change in BZ,
Mm-hmm.
and this is pretty classic for kind of small trapped flux ropes. So very small, like baby CME probably got trapped in there, but it created some substorming. So this is that substorm in response to BZ drop and then subsequent a rise back into the positive. And you see that this is typical coronal hole behavior. BZ is all over the place. It
Uh-huh.
is all over the place. And in respond to that, you see the substorming that's all over the place. So it's really hard to predict based on, coronal hole is coming and you want to plan things accordingly, you better plan the entire night. Because with coronal holes, you don't know until that BZ shows up at L1 when you're going to see the substorms. So if you dedicate the night to this, yes, you're going to catch some beautiful substorms like this one.
Mm-hmm.
This is very impressive. This is very impressive. They all follow a drop into the negative BZs. Can you predict it based on what you see here? There might be another very, very small transient. Maybe another CME got trapped in there. Again, we're talking about just baby CME, not those big things that get launched at us with major flares of huge filaments. Those are really, really small flux ropes, and they're common in solar wind. There might be another one there, but who knows? Nonetheless, again, it's all over the place. So watching when BT is elevated, when BT is high, and it tends to be high as you're ramping up on the speed, that was potentially another increase. And when we reached the central portion of that coronal hole that was extending north from south to north through the equator, this is when we started to see those big speeds.
Yep.
And again, this is when BT became elevated again. And this is BZ is doing its own thing with coronal hole. It's kind of all over the place. It's jumping up and down, but it's cranking up some of the decent substorms right there. So, that coronal hole, when it's coming, look for those areas of elevated BT because BZ typically follows, even though it's erratic, even though it's all over the place. Polarity may matter in the fall, in the spring. We're not in that area right now, so it's gonna be a sleepless night, but you can catch some beautiful substorms.
Yeah.
And that was another central kind of across the equator extension, so some beautiful, gorgeous substorms there too. And of course, they classically follow VZ drops,
Yeah, that's cool that
magnetotail
you
get
can see that.
charged, and you see, yep, you see it. You see it right away. So it wasn't the speed that was driving it. It really was change in BT and what BZ was doing at the time. So
Actually, it's
this is a fun plot to follow because this is very different from the plot for the CME. We just need a CME plot because this is a fairly fresh plot, but I'm hoping we're going to get a CME so we can compare what BZ does for Coronal Hole, and it's very erratic, so you really are chasing substorms unless BZ really is more consistently negative, and that can happen in the fall. So stay tuned. It's going to
yeah.
start to look very different in the future. But for now, this is what we get.
I think it's
So,
cool though because you can see in the speed where those 3 points were that you pointed out on the screen before. Like where the coronal hole, like where it peaked up into like where the Earth strike zone is. It's like, oh,
yeah,
there it is, and there it is.
yep. It's facing us. Give it 2 to 3
Yeah.
days, and you're going to see it in solar wind, and you're going to see a compressed magnetic field. And again, that compression is in the slow solar wind and in the fast solar wind. And as that compression area follows, as it gets away further from the sun, at about three distances that are equal to sun to Earth, that's 1 astronomical unit, so two more, and it's going to start to look like a shock. So it steepens into a shock, which will create a pretty substantial bump and very sharp rise to BT. Right now, it's more kind of gradual climb. Farther out, it starts to look pretty steep. So but
Rock
yeah,
on.
if you have very irregular shape to the coronal hole, the best substorms may not be right as it starts to affect us. It may be a little later when we start to see other parts of it that are kind of closer to the equator, closer to the center of the sun and crossing the equator. So we're kind of in the season for coronal holes and they can drive some activity. Another thing to pay attention to is when you read the forecast and it says, oh, G1, G2 storming would be possible. When is it coming? Substorms.
Yep.
Is it sustained? No.
Yeah, look how short those are, to
It's
be
up and
honest.
down. Yeah. Those periods, like this is a decent period of storming.
Yeah.
So beautiful substorms there, but is it sustained for entire paths of coronal holes? No. You still have to trace where substorms are coming. You still have to follow BZ and this is where Glendale is really helpful because it can tell you when the next substorm is going to happen because it tracks the BZ and it can predict when the substorms are more likely to happen. So that's the time to catch them because even if G1 warning, G2 warning is in place, that's for industry that's to let them know that something major is coming. They have to pay attention to it. And frankly, big secret from power industry, the G1, G2 storming doesn't affect them that much. They're ready for it. So it's sort of, yep, good to be aware of. Something interesting is coming, but they're pretty hardy, so they can withstand G1, G2 storming. KP5, KP6, they don't care. So
Especially when it's short like that.
that's kind of the interesting part for coronal holes. And unless you mix in the CME, this is kind of the type of picture you're going to see. Except again, those I suspect there might be very small flux rope in there
Yeah. There well could be.
when it's a little bit more consistent. But that's where we at with coronal holes. And again, season is changing, so different polarity of coronal hole will matter a little bit more for us. But it's sort of, yep, we'll have to ultimately have to wait and see.
Now do we have
All
the
right.
yeah, do we have the new one?
We
Yeah.
do.
So here's the one
We
that's
this is
yep.
yeah, this is I think this is outdated picture too. But I do have the kind of more of the same kernel hole that's coming. This is a negative polarity. It is in a good position. It has that transequatorial component. So it's crossing, if you think about central line going this way, it actually is crossing that line. And the shape of it matters and duration of the effect matters. The speed we have to watch, but for this kernel hole, again, it will affect us. There is no way around it. Like Earth cannot go either way out of the way of that fast solar wind. It is coming. Um, Duration of the effect probably shorter compared to coronal hole we just had. That coronal hole just lingered on and on and on and on. This will not last nearly as long. It's going to create an area of that compressed magnetic field. Ahead of fast solar wind, part of the fast solar wind will be compressed, so that elevated BT will persist. BZ is going to vary. It's going to oscillate, and this is normal for coronal holes. Substorms can occur over the entire pass. So as the fast solar wind is blowing through and BZ is oscillating, there will be periods of negative BZ that will be enough to charge the magnetotail and actually cause the substorm. But again, it's something to watch for. It's not something you can predict ahead of time. It's not the flux rope that's going to take day to pass. It's going to be very brief, and it can be still very impressive. And the higher chance for more impressive substorm is typically when BT, the total IMF, total strength of magnetic field, is still elevated, just because there is more wiggle room for BZ.
Mm-hmm.
BZ cannot, it cannot be higher than BT. BT is the total, and it's made out of 3 different components. So you can't overshoot BT ever with any of the components. But you create more kind of favorable conditions for BZ can really drop into low negatives if BT is fairly high. That's just how it works. That's vector geometry. So, but this is our good old friend that's coming from, and it was there in March, it was there in April. This is the coronal hole pair that created that high intensity, long duration, continuous auroral electrojet activity.
I'm glad you remember that
Yeah,
acronym.
that's the pair that created Hiltka. It's the negative polarity coronal hole. So it created beautiful enhanced auroral oval with kind of erratic substorms in I think March and April. And right now this also created Hiltka back in June. It's decreasing in size.
Yeah.
So nonetheless, from previous passes, the speed was about 700 kilometers per second, so still pretty impressive. The faster the speed, the more compression it can create. And yep, it sure did. On a previous rotation, BT was as high as about 15 nanotesla, and BZ drops were down to minus 10 nanotesla. Doesn't mean that's going to happen this time. Possibly, we don't know. It's something to watch for. But again, it's probably coming around 22nd, 23rd in UTC. So tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and it's going to persist probably maybe a day or 2.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds about right. Especially
yep.
especially based on the size comparatively.
Yeah, it's
so,
smaller
yeah.
in size, so it's just not going to create the same fast solar wind, not the same duration, at least as the previous passes. Which is okay, we still can get some activity out of it
Yeah.
if the smoke in the Great Lakes area clears. That's a bigger problem. So if you want to pull some terrestrial weather information,
I
and
can do that.
I think I'm done. Yeah, I'm done with this. But
Yeah.
again, both of us are based in Great Lakes regions, so for us, that terrestrial weather matters a lot. We're mid-latitude chasers.
Yeah.
At least when you, Mary Beth, can actually be at mid-latitudes, and I think you're going there.
Yeah, I'll be in a mid-latitude location, but and it might actually work out okay because the smoke's not as bad over there. But I'll get to that. And yeah, as Steve was saying too, we're going into the better half of the moon cycle too, so like into the new moon. So we won't have the full moon to contend with either, which is nice for mid-latitude stuff. So let me see. Let me get up my map here. Oh crap! What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, so all right. Let me see if I can do this correctly.
While you're looking for it, Vince was commenting that last coronal hole rotations have been kind of... Yeah, that's true.
They
So
have.
we don't have BZ that's lingering in the negatives when it oscillates. So it's barely sort of dipping into negatives. So no big substorms. I'm sure for high latitudes that really is okay, but for us at mid latitudes, not so much.
Yeah, not so much. All right.
Mhm.
Can we see this? Did I get it right?
Yeah. Oh
Okay.
my God.
So this is the smoke map. I'm using Astrospheric. You can also pull this on Pivotal Weather. I think Pivotal Weather might actually be a little better, but this one's easy. So let's see. Let's start where we're at right now. So let's go to Tuesday evening. Let's do that. So, um, it might actually be okay. For the northern Great Lakes. There's some haze over here, but it's not in the purples or reds or oranges, so I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
You can deal with that. It looks
Yeah.
like because I'll be over here in Maine, so that looks pretty good.
Nice.
But it looks like the northern tiered area here could have some issues. But really, overall, this is a lot better than it has been, which is good. But
And
let's
that's because we have a big storm system
that
that's about to make it through.
that is the other thing. So sometimes when you see these like holes right here, it's probably because there's a storm sitting there and there's rain. So there's that. But I can pull that up too if you want to look at it. But if you pull through it, it's kind of staying more on the north. You can see it's getting pulled up with this low pressure system here. Actually,
Hmm.
it's just wrapping it around and pushing it. It's kind of neat to watch. So anyway, it looks like we might be okay if we can get other weather to cooperate. At least the smoke's staying up north. Sorry, Justin, our friend in Manitoba, because that's pretty much all red, or not red, but purple, which is even worse. So, and then oh yeah, let's see here. Oh, yeah, I am going to Acadia, with Justin, who's right
Nice.
beneath you there in the comment section. So that's where I'm headed off to tomorrow. It should be fun. Hopefully we'll get the Coronal hole with it. But let's bring up the since we're here. Let's bring up the weather. Why don't we? Why don't we? All right. I don't care about what's new. Just go away. I like this app better on the phone. I just do. On the computer, I'd have more issues with it for some whatever reason. Forecasted weather. Like, where's my clouds? There we go. More. There we go. Clouds. Clouds. I'll get there, I swear. There we go. And then we'll do the high resolution. So let's go to tomorrow night, like 7 p.m. Oh yeah, like that's funny because if you go here, oh look, that's where that hole was. We go back in time.
Yep.
So what is it? 7, 8, 9, 2, yeah, that hole right there. There it is. That's kind of the one thing to watch with this. Like if it looks like the smoke's okay, then you gotta watch your terrestrial weather. I was like,
Hmm.
does he have some storming? So yeah, it looks like upper Michigan, even where I'm going, but we might be okay on the coast. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not too worried about it, to be honest. I'm just it's not worth the energy at this point. Other than that's just the hand that you're gonna be dealt, and you just gotta deal with it. Because I know a lot of people get mad about it, and I used to get mad about it, but can't control the weather, so why dwell on it? But yeah, let's see what happens here if we go into Wednesday, which I think HRRR is too much for that, so we'll go back to European. Wednesday. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be kind of same deal. Upper Great Lakes has a little bit of problem, but the west looks okay. This tier here, so I don't know. Yeah, keep an eye on the weather. Keep an eye on the smoke, and because we should have some activity in the future, which is nice.
Yep.
So let me stop sharing this. That's my weather forecast. So thanks for tuning in. One of these days I'll get like a green screen and make it all like official and like point at maps and stuff, but with my
Hey,
makeshift
we need to
degree.
stay unplugged. Don't
Yeah.
don't go high tech.
But do we have any questions in our studio audience? Probably not because we're just covering current events. So
Yeah, and there is not much to cover.
yeah.
Besides that huge coronal hole that
Hmm.
just passed, and yeah, it didn't create a whole lot of activity, but I'm hoping it's gonna stick around until the fall. So
Yeah, I hope so
then
too.
positive polarity is gonna be more favorable, but again, we'll see.
Yeah, time will tell. We'll get back to having
Yep.
some fun stuff. But yeah, it's not to say for nothing because these have traditionally at least got us some G1 stuff, which is decent. It's okay to see. But I know Steve said he's going to be in Yellowstone, and sometimes that you can see stuff with a strong enough little outburst, but usually you need something a little bit more
Yeah,
for
and
that
then
area. But
it gets rough when you have to
mm-hmm,
watch it all night to really
it
catch a
does.
substorm,
Yeah,
and it has to be timed right so you could actually see it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and there's always the Milky Way.
Yep, that's very true. Unless there's smoke and
Yeah,
clouds.
unless there's smoke. Well, yeah, it's prime Milky Way season, that's for sure. So get out and do that if Aurora doesn't cooperate.
Fun.
But that's all we got today.
Yep, definitely. And hopefully, yeah, and hopefully there will be a pickup in activity, but we don't know when it's going to happen. We're still in the season where it's possible, so it's not completely down in the dumps and solar minimum yet.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in the holding pattern. We just have to wait.
Yeah, wait and see. The story of space weather.
Yep, yep, pretty much.
All right, well, I'll let you guys have your evening back, and we'll see what happens next week. Where if we can squeeze in one of these ins or not, but you know, I'm playing it a week by week at this point. But appreciate you guys being in here and flexible. You know, we have a decent amount of people watching, even though I had to move it a day. So you know, I know that's not ideal, but appreciate you all being here.
Yeah. Thank
So
you so much.
yes, thank you, and hopefully you got something. Maybe we got something to look forward to in the next couple days. So with that, I will let you guys have your evening back. And we'll see you
Right.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.